Hey friends, how's everyone doing today? Hope you're all having an amazing weekend. It's cold and rainy here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but we're making the best of it, getting lots of things done inside. So welcome, welcome. If we haven't met before, I'm going to take a quick moment to introduce myself. My name is Tamie M. I am an empowerment coach for women. I help women break free from painful relationship patterns so they can experience the love that they deserve. And what I want to talk to you about today is how to live a drama-free life. How do we live a drama-free life? Before we get going though, I'm just going to say, hey Sherry, how are you? Thanks for hopping on. Nice to see you. Guys, do me a favor. If you're catching me live, drop me a 1. If you're catching the replay, drop a 2. And if you're new to my live broadcast, let me know you're new and let me know where you're coming in from. Hey Marcy, how are you? Nice to see you, girl. Thanks for hopping on. So how do we live a drama-free life? How do we live a drama-free life? You know, it seems like, as I always say, human beings here on planet Earth, right? Like it's kind of hard sometimes to avoid that or escape that. We're surrounded by other human beings doing their thing, and sometimes it seems like it can be really hard to sidestep the bullshit and the nonsense. But also what I have observed and what I know from my own personal experience is that sometimes we can be functioning at a level where we're actually addicted to the drama and we don't even realize it, right? Like I remember years ago, early in my recovery journey, where I was sitting there talking to some very senior friends within that movement. They'd be considered old timers, some very wise men that I was very fortunate to be mentored by early days, and saying like, wow, like things are really calm and good. And it was bizarre for me. And, you know, I was almost uncomfortable because up to that point, peace and serenity had not been the norm for me. It certainly wasn't what I grew up with. I grew up in the opposite, steeped like a tea bag. So, you know, peace and serenity was not the norm for me. And then, of course, we drag all of our stuff that we're, you know, raised with into our adult lives. And there I am, I don't know, inside of the first 6 months of my recovery journey, looking around like going like, wow, like at that stage, I had stepped out of the toxic, destructive relationship. I had decided to remove myself from, you know, the relationship game, realized that, you know, if I keep attracting one destructive, one abusive, one narcissistic partner after another, and I'm the common denominator, maybe I need to take myself out of the game until I figure out what's going on with me, that this stuff keeps showing up, right? So I had, you know, broken up with the boyfriend, gotten into a really good routine of taking care of myself with a morning spiritual practice and ritual, had stepped back from what was left of my family of origin at the time. Now there came a point where I had to go back in and deal with some rather big stuff, which stirred up some drama for sure. But I was in a place where I was able to separate myself from it to a large degree, go in, do what I needed to do, and then step back and do what I needed to do for me and heal without diving into the drama of all of it, right? Like whatever drama they had going on, I was really able to distance myself from that. So there I am, early days in my recovery journey, saying to these gentlemen, like, it's awkward almost that there's no chaos going on, because my life up to that point had been characterized by one drama after another, whether that was, you know, in my romantic life, in a friendship, with some insane situation going on with a family member, even in work, in business, you know, like it was just drama, right? And I think what happens is, often, especially if we come from dysfunctional backgrounds and, we have been through, any level, any amount of trauma and all that goes along with that and all the dynamics that go along with that, it just becomes our norm, and we bring that into our adult lives and our adult relationships, and it's what we know. And I know folks in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who still have not learned to detach from the drama and the nonsense, who still are in a place where they don't feel alive, I think is really what's fundamentally going on. They don't feel alive unless they're kicking up drama in someone's life, or there's some sort of drama going on somewhere. It's like, I get to feel alive. Like if I get over there and drop that comment, or, do this thing or don't do this thing, I can sit back and observe how almighty and powerful I am and the drama, and therefore I get to feel alive, right? It's really fascinating. So what I wanted to dive into today are 5 tips to live a drama-free life. I think I could probably come up with 25 tips, but I'm going to share with you 5 that I think are really important if you're someone who is just exhausted from the drama going on all the time. And it's not really what you want consciously, but it just seems to be the common theme. We actually don't have to live that way. Our lives can be predominantly characterized by peace and serenity and joy and love and gratitude. And the more we vibrate there, the less we're attracting all the drama kings and queens, all the energy vampires, all the BS and the nonsense, right? But it starts inside of us. So let's go through 5 tips. But before we do, I'm going to say hello. I see a whole bunch of people hopped on here. Felix de Souza, how are you, my friend? Long time no see. Thanks for joining us. Jatoya, welcome, welcome. Nice to see you. And Haley, how are you? Mark Logan, how's it going? Nice to see you. Welcome. If I missed anyone, my apologies, but do me a favor. If you're catching the live broadcast, drop me a 1. If you're catching the replay, drop a 2. And if you're new to my live broadcast, let me know you're new and let me know where you're coming in from so I can reach out and say hello. So 5 tips to live a drama-free life. Tip number 1, don't assume. Don't assume. Like, often drama will just get kicked up and stirred up because one person is making an assumption that another person thinks this, or must have said that, or did this, or didn't do that for these reasons. And although I'm a firm believer in trusting our instinct and trusting our gut and, following that internal guidance and wisdom and telling ourselves the truth about what we feel to be true. Big difference between that and just making assumptions. Big difference between that and making assumptions. You actually have no way of truly knowing what a person is thinking, for sure, 100%, absolutely unequivocally what they're thinking or why they do the things they do. So before you go and assume, ask. I get the feeling that, it seems to me that, I could be wrong, but I have a sense that you think this or feel this or didn't do this because of that or whatever. Communication. We're adults. Don't be afraid to communicate. We're often so afraid to go there, right? And I can tell you that all of the times I took a risk, even when it was scary, and went to someone and said, what gives? And I opened the lines of communication. I got a whole bunch of information. And the story that I had going on in my head wasn't necessarily a match to what the reality was. And just by virtue of opening those lines of communication, peace came of that. Good things came of that, as opposed to me standing over here in a corner, making my own assumptions, not communicating like a big girl, and then a whole bunch of drama ensues, right? So don't assume. Number 2, don't believe the freaking grapevine. Don't believe the freaking grapevine. So here's what I have to say about that. If Sandy tells me that John told Jane, that Steve heard Sheila say something, which is like so often the kind of nonsense that's going on, especially in dysfunctional families, right? If Sandy tells me that John told Jane that Steve heard Sheila say something, chances are, the story you're hearing bears little to no resemblance to the truth or reality. So just because someone says something, don't take it for cash. We often have a tendency to believe what we hear first, regardless of the source. Always important to consider the source. Always important to question intent. Like when I have someone telling me something derogatory or not very kind or flattering about someone else, my knee-jerk reaction inside of myself now is to question why they feel the need to tell me that. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. Gee, I wonder why it's important to them to tell me that about that person, because the truth is, when toxic people can't control you, they try to control how others see you. And sometimes we're the others. Sometimes someone's coming to us, not because they're actually legitimately looking for real solutions, for healthy solutions, but because they're gathering the troops and attempting to control how we see the other individual. Why would they need to do that? Why would they need to do that? If they're a healthy, high-functioning person with good, pure intent, they wouldn't need to do that. So, you know, have that conversation. You don't have to have that conversation with them. I mean, you can say, you know what, I'm really not interested in having this conversation with you. Nothing wrong with setting a boundary, but, you know, be in the habit of, you know, asking those kind of questions inside your own mind. Don't necessarily believe the grapevine. So much drama and chaos, in particular inside of families, the workplace, anywhere really, could be avoided if people would just stop it. You know, there's a meme out there that I love, something along the lines of gossip dies when it hits the ears of a wise person. Gossip dies, it ends right there when it hits the ears of a wise person. Be that person. Be that person. The buck stops here. Don't feed the drama monster. Don't feed the drama monster. Number 3, be direct. Be direct. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Say what you mean and mean what you say. So much drama could be avoided in our lives if people would just communicate and speak clearly. When I feel, I need you to. As an example, one of my favorite tools, simple, powerful, super clear, super clear. So be direct, say what you mean and mean what you say. And then whatever the person does with that information that you just gave them is a whole lot of information for you. Set your boundaries accordingly. Take care of yourself accordingly. But by being direct, you avoid a whole bunch of unnecessary drama. Number 4, be the bigger person. Be the bigger person. When you find yourself the victim of some small offense, sometimes even a big offense, quite frankly, in my life experience, your first instinct, and I get this, believe me, I'm freaking scrappy. I came from a scrappy as all get out family. I grew up like this. I get it. Our first instinct, our first defense, especially if we feel hurt, threatened, betrayed, that can be our first instinct. So it's like developing a muscle to take the high ground, to be the bigger person. A whole lot easier to do when we're taking care of ourselves as well, when we're not exhausted, when we're not energetically and emotionally wiped out and drained, when we're taking care of ourselves and we're in a good place, we're meditating, we're doing all the things that we need to do to stay grounded in a good place within ourselves. A whole lot easier to take the high road when we need to. When we're not taking good care of ourselves, we're a whole lot, I know I am, a whole lot more likely to react. And now I'm doing damage control. Whether I'm justified or not, now I'm doing damage control, right? So when you find yourself the victim of some small offense or even a big offense, your first instinct may be to respond in kind. We're human beings. Of course it is, right? While this may feel good in the moment, like we get a hit, we get a fix, our ego, right? Like feels good right now, it usually just escalates the situation. Like every freaking time, in my experience, it usually just escalates the situation and makes everything worse, Like there's, anger serves a purpose in our lives in terms of protecting ourselves and sometimes others where need be. I don't believe that anger is a bad thing. We have it for a reason. We need to be in touch with, our feelings, and if something's going on and we're getting pissed, are we getting pissed because of what's happening current today? Or are we getting pissed because some unresolved trauma or issue inside of us is being triggered? This kind of self-awareness is huge, really, really important. The more we are self-aware in this regard, the more we're going to be able to manage our negative feelings, pay attention to them, feel them, figure out why they're there, manage them appropriately, and deal in a way that's going to be most effective. And we're not ever, I don't believe, going to do this perfectly all the time. It's not about becoming perfect little robotic human beings, but it's about knowing what to do. I heard Gabby Bernstein say this yesterday, and I thought it was amazing. It's about knowing what to do when we are imperfect. It's about knowing what to do the moment we catch ourselves slipping into the lesser person rather than the bigger person. And maybe that's stopping mid-sentence. Maybe that's, just taking a huge step back if we need to, so we can put some distance there, deal with our feelings, and then step back into the situation, choosing to be the bigger person. If you truly want to live a drama-free life, then you need to be willing to be the bigger person and let things go. Balancing act, right? That doesn't mean that we ignore destructive, abusive, inappropriate, awful behavior, sweep it under the rug, and I'm the Pollyanna bigger person, and I just keep, standing in front of the bus like a target. That's not what this means. It means we tell ourselves the truth. We choose to take the high road, while simultaneously loving and respecting ourselves enough to set very healthy boundaries. When people behave inappropriately with us, they only get so many chances to repeat that, right? If they're not genuinely, sincerely making a living, action-oriented amends, they're not genuinely remorseful and looking to make it right, then we pay attention to that. That doesn't mean we can't let it go at the same time, right? So it's a balancing act. You don't need to get in the last word. I love the last word. And how many times has that gotten me into trouble? The words come flying out of my mouth before I actually have a chance to think about them and the impact that, that might be having, in particular when we're dealing with a destructive narcissist or, energy vampires or low functioning people. Sometimes there's nothing more satisfying than being able to just verbally bop them right between the eyes, right? Nothing more satisfying. But the more destructive the person is that you're dealing with, the less likely you're going to win that war anyway. They're not playing by the same games, the same rules of life that we with high empathy are. So we might get the last word in this moment, but it's coming back. And all we're doing is feeding the drama monster. What I have learned, and again, this is not about perfection, but developing the muscle to not have to be right, to not have to convince someone else of our reality, our perception of reality, how wrong they are, how bad they are, whatever it is. Letting go of the need to control someone else's perception of reality, their behavior, whatever. Our job is to take care of us. And you only get into my inner circle or get, close enough to me when I determine that, you're a reasonably safe person. And if you're not a reasonably safe person, then you're either someone I don't engage with at all, or it's real small doses, right? So I go off on tangents and then I forget where I am. So yeah, you don't need to one up the other person. It doesn't serve any end. If you really want to start turning the volume down on the drama in your life, practice saying, oh, period. Silence. Far more powerful. Often we're dealing with people who want the reaction from us, right? And when we're in the habit of saying, you could be right about that, no matter what they're saying, doesn't matter. We're not saying they're right. We're just saying, oh, I'm not engaging. I don't need to convince you. I'm not so unsure of myself that I need to control you, your perception of reality, or anything else. Oh, you're entitled to your perception of reality, no matter how distorted I might think that is. You're entitled to your opinion of me, no matter how far removed that might be from who I truly am. I don't need to control that. I'm good. I know who I am. I know what I live. Oh, and silence. Don't engage. And the more able we are to do that, the more the drama kings and queens, the energy vampires, the low functioning people will be forced to go find someone else to play with, because you are no longer feeding the drama monster. You are no longer a great place for them to come to get the fix and the hit and the reactions with all the drama so that they feel alive. Meanwhile, the vast majority of you tuning into me are highly empathic people. You're left on the floor, completely feeling completely energetically and emotionally drained, if not annihilated, right? So be the bigger person. You don't need the last word. Oh, very powerful. Leave it at that. Last but not least, number 5, avoid drama kings and queens. Avoid them. Like, if your whole life is filled with people who gossip and only have negative things to say about others and are always looking for opportunity to put you or someone else down, and their lives are chaotic, and it's one problem, one drama, one this, one that after another, and you want to live a drama-free life or a relatively drama-free life, step away, disconnect, small doses. I don't want to go there. So what are my notes on that? The best way to keep your life drama-free is to eliminate the drama queens and kings from your life. Gotta tell you, I have a very peaceful life today, and as I read that sentence, which I typed into my notes like over a year ago, the last time I talked about this subject, I realized like that is a big reason why we have such a peaceful, harmonious, calm, wonderful, peaceful, serene life. And it wasn't always that way for me. My gosh, 15, 20 years ago, that was not my reality. So eliminate the drama kings and queens from your life where possible. When you start cleaning house in terms of the people in your life where you're able to, that's not always easy depending on who we're talking about, but where you're able to, what you do is you make energetic space for higher vibrational beings, higher functioning beings, healthier people to come into your reality while you continue to work on cleaning up your own stuff, up-leveling yourself from the inside out. You know, I have found that I have outgrown friends my whole life because my whole life has been a major project of growing and evolving to the next level and the next level and the next level. It's how I do life. It's how I love to do life. So I've got friends that I've had for 30 plus years, and I've got folks that I've known for, friends that I made in my teens or 20s that, and some even in my 30s that just aren't a match to who I am today. And then there are others who have been around for decades, depending on who they are and whether or not they're growing and evolving as well, right? So this is easy when you meet new people or are dealing with someone you aren't very close to. Once you realize they are drama prone, minimize, or if you can, eliminate the interactions you have with them. So if someone's coming at you, showing up on your doorstep all the time with, the drama of the day or the drama of the week, often we have the ability to just put some distance there, right? Now, with people you are close to or have a long history with or are related to, it's a little trickier, right? Or who are genuinely good people, but whose one major flaw is their tendency to make a big deal over nothing all the time, always looking for the next opportunity to be offended, right? Like taking everything personally, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to cut them out of your life altogether. You don't. If they're genuinely good people, but this is the one thing, you don't actually have to cut them out of your life altogether. Just acknowledge that quality about them. And when they start acting up, don't get sucked into their drama vortex. Don't get sucked into their drama vortex. Silence is very powerful. Clear communication is very powerful. I really enjoy spending time with you. However, I'm really uncomfortable talking about so-and-so when they're not present. Keep it to a minimum. Silence is very powerful. The less drama you have in your life, the more room you have for fun, joy, and great relationships. The more room you have for fun, joy, and great relationships. And guys, life's too short. Life is too short and hard enough without all the additional unnecessary nonsense and bullshit. So choose to live a predominantly drama-free life and watch everything on the outside start to shift. I hope you got some value out of this today. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, comment, and or share. Once again, my name is Tamie M. I'm an empowerment coach for women. I help women break free from painful relationship patterns so they can experience the love they deserve. And if that resonates with you, if those words speak to you, call to you in any way, I have an 8-week program that just kicks ass. Like, it is super powerful, super, super awesome. I'm super, super proud of it. The Freedom Class, 8 weeks to get you from where you are to where you want to be. If that sounds interesting to you, drop me a comment, send me a private message. I'll get you some more information on it. Or you can go to Tamie M, Tamiem, coaching.com. All the details are there, and if you like what you read, you can click the link at the bottom of that page to book a free strategy call with me. So again, guys, I hope you got some value out of this. If you liked what you heard, like, comment, and or share. Otherwise, thanks, friends, for hopping on. I appreciate all of you, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go have some fun. Go play. Go be good to you, and I will look forward to catching up with you on Monday. In the meantime, as always, know your value. Know your value and unlock your freedom. Mwah! Much love. Thanks for hopping on, friends. Bye for now.